after you've done all that you can, you stand. I wonder if there's anybody in the room who has had this experience where you were going through the storm, you were going through the pain, you were working through a difficult experience, and as you were going through, you just got this sense that you were at the end of your rope. This is it. I can't take it no more. I know I've had all the classes and it's just not working for me right now. But then just something occurred to you, and just as you were at the end of your rope with one hand on the rope and one hand releasing, wavering in the abyss of where you know you will fall to if you let go, with one hand you sort of miraculously, as you were at the end of your rope, began to tie a knot at the end of the rope, because you determined for yourself and in your soul that it's not over until God says it's over. It's not over until you win. It's not over until you've had your breakthrough. It's not over until you've had your overcoming. And then, just like the champion that you are, you took the hand that was hanging toward the abyss with the other hand tied right at the base of that knot, and you put one hand over the other, and you started to pull yourself up, because you know that there is a king in you. You know that there is a queen in you, and you started to pull yourself up by the strength of God and by the consciousness and the principles that you've been learning. Then you took your other hand and you started to pull yourself up just a little bit more, and you started to see a little bit of a breakthrough. You started to understand that you could be healed. You started to see that your marriage could be saved. You started to understand that, yes, they said your house was in foreclosure, but you kept and snatched from the jaws of defeat victory, because you know that God is all there is. I wonder, is there just one or two people in this room who know what I'm talking about? Is there anybody here who you thought you were not gonna make it, but because of what you have learned, because of what you know, because of what God is in you, you put another hand up on that rope and pulled yourself just a little bit higher? The people around you, they don't know how it is you did what you do, but you pull one more time, just a little bit higher. They better stop playing with us. You can't lose with the stuff we use. They better stop playing. We've got too many overcoming. We've got too many demonstrations that this stuff works. You can't tell us it don't work. It works, and we know that it works when we work it. There are demonstrations all over this room. There are households connected to everybody here. Healing's just springing forth. New businesses just rising up. The blessings of God are on the people of God. Don't you ever forget it. You better stop playing with us. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me go all out. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me act a fool. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me lose my cool. Up in here, up in here. They better stop playing with us. They better stop playing with us. We ain't nothing to play with. Good Lord. I'm gonna be done lost my voice before I even say a word. I need a drink. Not that kind of drink. Get your mind out the gutter. Oh, good Lord. Don't play with us. We ain't nothing to play with. We've seen it. We know. We've seen the healings. We've seen the breakthroughs. We've seen the demonstrations. We've stared the diagnosis in the face and said, you a doggone lie. Oh. Oh. How y'all doing? Oh. Good Lord. Good Lord. You've got too much power to be defeated. You've got too much principle under your belt to be taken under. No, God knew what he was doing when he created you. And God knew that you could be trusted with everything that God was. And so he put it right in you. But sometimes, just like a good book, you got to open it up in order to get it out. So I think I'm supposed to be talking about what's on this paper. I believe that's what I'm here to do today. Praise God. Yes, Lord. So here's where we'll go. Because as we are preparing, there they are. Let me bring them right back up here. Let me just, you all just come right through here. Let us just love on you all for a quick minute. These young men are visiting with us from Morehouse College. Come on. Let us love you. Come on. Right on cue. Let us love on y'all. Come on, just right on the cross. Yeah, God bless you. God bless each and every one of you. All right. Don't tell me that there's no hope for our future. Right? Don't tell me there's no hope for our future. Don't tell me there's no hope for our future. These are young men who have decided for themselves. Now, whether they had the urging of their parents is a wonderful thing, but these are young men who have decided for themselves that regardless of the temptations, regardless of the traps, the toils, and the snares, these young people, as for them and their families, they will be about their father's business. They're getting their education on. Look at them, these are good-looking guys, right? Let's take a moment to celebrate them and congratulate them for being about their business. You cats are right on cue. See, they are the example of what is built when you have a strong foundation. They typify, they exemplify what you can build when you have a strong foundation. Am I right about that? Yes. But in order to build, it does not matter what you intend to build. In order to build, you must have a solid foundation. If you intend to build anything, it does not matter what you plan to build. If you intend to build anything, you have to have a solid foundation. It does not matter if you're planning to build your family or your finances, you have to have a solid foundation. It doesn't matter if you're planning to build your career or your consciousness, you need a solid foundation. You may be planning just to build your children or to build relationships or to build your business or to build whatever it is. You may just be planning to build a hamburger. And the building of that hamburger still requires a solid foundation. Am I right about that? But isn't it interesting that there are some characteristics of a solid foundation? All foundations are not created equally. Just catch up with me. All foundations are not created equally. Some shallows are deep and some foundations are deep and some foundations are shallow. All foundations are not created equally, but it's important to recognize that the function of the foundation is to disperse the energy from what's happening on the top. I like that right there. The function of the foundation is to distribute and disperse the energy that comes from the top. Sometimes a foundation is referred to as a base work. For those of us in this setting, whenever we hear the word base or basic, we should automatically go back to basic principle. And so when we're talking about a foundation, whether it's a material foundation or a spiritual foundation, it requires certain characteristics. Every foundation has certain characteristics. Are you still with me? The characteristics of foundation, as I just want to talk about them quickly today, there are three that I want to point out. The first is that a foundation is always intentional. A foundation is always intentional. Say a foundation is always intentional. We find in the book of Matthew gives us some words of Jesus, and Jesus begins to talk about the hearer and the doer. And as Jesus is talking about the hearer and the doer, Jesus says the hearer is the one who hears my words, begins to move accordingly, and then begins to build on a rock or a solid foundation. But then Jesus gives us another analogy where he says, but you can also not hear the word and begin to build on a sandy foundation. And when you build on a foundation that's made of sand compared to when you build on a foundation that's made on a firm rock, what you will find is that when the storms come, when the rain comes, when the flood comes, and they beat upon the house or whatever is built upon the foundation, one can withstand what's absolutely coming and the other cannot. What am I saying? I'm saying that depending upon how you hear and understand and apply the principle, you can already at this stage determine how you are going to be able to withstand, good God, what you will be able to do when the storm comes. Now note that I didn't say if the storm comes. It is a variable certainty that the storm is coming. Just as sure as you are a spiritual being, the storm is coming. And the thing about the storm is that storms have a tendency to not be so polite. Let me say it to you this way. When the rainstorm of fear emerges, it does not come in a way that's polite. When the storm of fear emerges, it can hit you so hard that it will freeze you in your tracks. If you get afraid, God could have said to you, go and do thus and so, and the fear will keep you from moving in the very purpose that God called you for. Come on now. The flood is coming. And sometimes the flood comes as doubt just wells up in each of us about what we can do and what we can be. And you can be rooted in truth. You can have all of the certificates. You can have had every class. You can be one of the premier teachers. You can even be a minister. But because the characteristics of the storm are no respecter of person, it rains on the just and the unjust. It challenges the just and the unjust. And so all of us at some point or another find ourselves confronted with the fact that if our foundation has not been built intentionally and upon a rock, when that challenge comes, you don't have to look around and wonder where you are in truth. The result will tell you where you are in truth. I'm talking to you right now. When Jesus tells us about this experience, one of the other things that he helps us to understand is that a characteristic of every foundation should certainly have a cornerstone. I like that. the characteristic of every foundation should have a cornerstone. Now, as I said earlier to you, when you hear the word base work, or when you hear the word base or principle, or when you hear the word base or base work, you should automatically, as a metaphysical Christian, begin to think basic principle. Because here, the cornerstone, the stone upon which every thought will be referenced as you move forth from the principle. I hope you didn't miss that. I hope you didn't miss that. Saints, here's what I said. When you position the cornerstone, every other stone is positioned in reference to that cornerstone. What that means is this: if the cornerstone is true, then the foundation will be true. But if the cornerstone is slightly off, with the slightest bit of error, with the slightest bit of flaw, then the entire structure that is being held by the foundation is in jeopardy. All right. What does that mean to us? That means to us that our grasp of principle must be such that when we begin to build one thought upon the next, every thought that we intend to think about the demonstration that we would like to make is made in reference to the cornerstone. What am I saying? I'm saying if somebody says to you that you are not what you think yourself to be, and you take their diagnosis of what you are and you begin to try to be what they think you should be, and you're not being who you know yourself to be in principle, not in your work, but in principle, not in your play, but in principle, if you don't have as the cornerstone the awareness that God is, then when you begin to think the next thought, oh man, the next thought is in relation to the foundational cornerstone thought. And so if the foundational thought is true, then you got a much better shot at realizing that God is your health when you know that God is all there is. When the storm comes and challenges the foundation, and you understand that your prosperity is in God, then the next thought is not a thought that's away from the realization that God is the source of your supply. The next thought takes you right back to the principle. That's what I really want to say. Every time you think a thought and you catch yourself thinking out of alignment with principle, I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. I want to dare you to get your butt back to principle. And I don't mean your butt like you're behind. I mean your butt like I want to go back to school butt. I don't mean your butt like your backside. I mean I want to get myself a new house butt. I don't mean your butt like your posterior. I mean your ready to open up a new business butt. I'm talking about that butt. I'm talking about the butt that stands in the way and moves counter to the cornerstone principle that God is. And if God gave it to you, then God is able to fulfill it. Every idea that you get comes not just with the vision, but also with the provision. Am I right about that? But it's interesting, it's interesting that every now and again, we get caught by what appears, what doth appear. How they say it in scripture, what doth appear. D-O-T-H, doth. Just means does. Right, it just means does. Somebody cracking up over there. You like that, didn't you? I know you like that. That was just for you. That's just for you over there. Come on now. You guys don't make me stop now. Let's keep going. So here we go. Here it is. When we look at principle and or the Christ consciousness as the cornerstone, there are some things that we get from Christ consciousness that we see in Jesus and in his understanding of his relationship with God. Are you with me? Jesus knew that God was unlimited love and is ever present as abundant life. What am I saying? I'm saying that when the Christ consciousness or when principle is your cornerstone, then you have the opportunity, you avail yourself to the realization that God is ever-present love and God is abundant life. Now, what I'm saying is, yes, the situation, the conditions, and the circumstances might appear to the contrary. And I'm saying to them, I'm saying to you, you have to speak truth to those. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm saying you have to speak truth to the stuff that doth appear. Here's what we see from Jesus. Jesus knew God as wisdom and as the source of his supply. Here's what we see in Christ consciousness. He knew God as the Father. I like that right there. He knew God as the Father. He had a sense. He had the awareness. He possessed the clear realization that all that God was, he was, and everything that God had, he was entitled to. My question to you is, when you look at or think about all that God is, where do you fall on the continuum of what God has made available to you and what you can accept? Don't answer out loud. But just understand that through a principle focus or through the Christ consciousness only recognizes one with the healing. This is why they could go get Jesus from whatever he was doing or wherever he was going and say, Master, please come with us because we know that you know. What in you knows? There has to be a place in consciousness that you know that you know. You ain't just reading off the page, but you know because you've seen it. Where do you go to when the storm comes? Because I don't know about you, but I've been in storms where I could barely see through the windshield. I don't know about you, but I've been in floods where I was up to my neck in it. I don't know about you, but I've been in windstorms where the gusts and the gales were so strong that I didn't know if I was going or coming. And when you can't get your bearing, what's your base? Is it the fear? Is it the doubt? Is it the diagnosis? Is it the problem? Is it the trouble? Or is it the principle? Is it the truth? You with me? Final characteristic of a foundation. Final characteristic of a foundation. It has to be able to withstand the storm. The foundation has to be able to withstand the storm. When the foundation is built with the awareness of faith, that's good right there. When the foundation is built with the awareness of faith, then you can build the foundation in a way that enables you to build it knowing, as I said earlier, that the storm is coming. Faith, let me just talk about faith quickly because you can't really talk about the foundation without talking about the faith. Faith is spiritual assurance. Faith is the power to do the seemingly impossible. I don't want to move from there too quick. Faith is the power to do the seemingly impossible. Faith is the power to do the seemingly impossible. Now listen, I'm not saying that faith is the power to know that God will do the seemingly impossible. I'm saying that faith is the power in you to do the seemingly impossible. I'm saying, just like Jesus said, these things that I do, and greater things than these shall you do. And so, my question is, this is not really just to you, it kind of sort of is, but not solely. Are you waiting for somebody else to do it for you? If you're waiting for somebody else to do for you what is in your power to do, then you become subject to somebody else's consciousness. If you think that somebody else has to touch you, if you think that somebody else has to bless you, if you think that somebody else has to come see about you, if you think that somebody else should call you, if you think that somebody else should bring you roses, if you think that somebody else should take you out to dinner, if you think that somebody else should buy you what you want, if you think that somebody else should spray the perfume of the cologne on you so that you can smell good, if you think that somebody else can make possible what is in your power to do, then you are sadly mistaken. The Christ awareness says that the power to be and to do is in you. And so, when the foundation is firm, you can stand tall and be what God created you to be. Now, if your foundation is sandy, not this sandy. That's a good sandy right there. Now, y'all just laughing too hard on some of this stuff now. But you must make sure that you understand that the power to do the seemingly impossible is in you, because God is in you. And watch this now, watch this. You with me? If it's little, you don't need God for that. Some of us wonder why we have big challenges, right? Some of us wonder why we have big problem with people, right? Some of us wonder why what's in front of us seems like it can't be conquered. It's because you have big potential. If you were not up to it wouldn't be in front of you. And so what we understand then is that nothing comes to you that you cannot conquer once you raise your consciousness to the level of overcoming. But if you choose to stay, that's a good word right there. If you choose to stay subject to your experience, then your experience will sure enough be the thing that works your bippy. All right. Let's keep going. Faith is a deep inner knowing. And when we talk about understanding faith functions from principle. Now, I don't want to move too far without just touching what I mean when I say principle, because I know everybody here gets it, but let's just quickly review. When I say principle, and I'm talking about the first principle, I'm talking about the omnipresence of God. When I say faith functions, or understanding faith functions from principle, and I talk about the second principle, or the divinity of, I'm talking about the divinity of man. When I'm talking about faith or understanding faith functions from principle, and I talk about the third principle, I'm talking about the value and power of your thoughts. When I'm talking about understanding faith functions through principle, and I begin to talk about practicing the presence. When we're talking about principle and we begin to say that understanding faith works through principle, and we begin talking about the law of demonstration. So here is where we are. When you understand that God is all there is. And when you understand, I'm still talking about understanding faith, and I'm still talking about your foundation. When you understand that God is all there is, and when you understand that you are made in the image and after the express likeness of God, and when you understand that there is value and power in your thought, and when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you have only to change your mind. And when you change your mind, you don't just leave it, you support your change by the way you practice the presence. And when you understand what God is, what you are, the power that you have, and how to re-energize that power, you make your demonstration. So you trying to figure out how to get it done. It's simple. Practice the principles. Don't talk about the principle. Practice the principle. Don't talk about prayer. Pray. Don't just admire people who meditate. Meditate. Don't just look at how disciplined someone is when they can sit in the silence. Anytime I hear about Fillmore and how long he would sit in the silence and work his work, it really impresses me. But I have yet to sit for as long as he sat to make the demonstration that he made. There might be something to that. Am I right about it? So here, as we get ready to get out of here, as we get ready to get out of here, I want to leave you with this. As we talk about God as the foundation, and as we look at how foundation is connected to faith, I just want to talk about just quickly about the future. I just want to quickly talk about the future. Just quickly, if I can just quickly touch on the future. Because here is what I know. Whenever you establish a foundation, the builder must have some faith that the foundation will hold the structure. Thank you, Johnny Cole. And as you begin to bring the structure into fruition, at some point, there must be some projection of what the benefit will be to the future. There must be some projection of what your thought seeds will be to the future. See, when you don't know or you don't think that your thought seeds are creating your future, you will think anything. But if you know that what you are thinking is going to eventually become your experience, you know you can change your future in the present. You don't have to wait until tomorrow to experience a glorious today. So our thought seeds, when dropped or planted into the subconscious mind, they germinate and grow. Let's go, Tay. Let's get out of here. The more clearly we understand this truth, the greater will be our ability to plant seeds that bring forth desirable fruit. After you plant the seeds, you got to tend the garden. But check this. Divine order says not to expect a harvest until you have taken care of the soil and planted the seed. If you haven't planted your thought seeds, don't be looking for the harvest. Once you start to take care of your part, this is the good thing about God. Once you take care of your part, you can rest confidently. You can rest assured. You can rest peacefully. You can rest knowingly. You can rest chilling out because God got God's part. You and I have to do our part. And if we do our part, we know that God has got his part. And the foundation that he laid, you will be able to build on. God bless you.